This video has been such a long time coming. For about a year now, you guys have been asking for more book content on this channel. I show the books that I'm reading all the time in my vlogs, but I've never actually really sat down and given a breakdown of the books that I've been reading. But I want to start making this stuff a little more frequent, and last year was such a good reading year. So for today's video, I'm going to go through all of my top reads of last year and why you should probably read them as well. So take notes, okay? Grab yourself a hot beverage. I already have mine, and let's dive right on into it. 2024 for me was the year of fantasy. I haven't been so enthralled in fantasy in a very long time, which I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a very fantasy forward person, but that all changed when I started reading ACOTAR. Think fairies, think magic, think dark magic. Our main character is young, female, thinks for herself, very outspoken. We basically watch her enter into her true self and who she's meant to be, and it is so captivating. There's definitely smut in there, so if you like the smutty romance novels, you will actually like this one. So don't let fantasy trick you, because it's actually really, really good. I literally binge read within a few weeks, which says a lot because again, some of those books are really, really thick. So if you have a hard time getting into fantasy, I actually would really recommend starting with an Audible book first, because that helps you kind of get past the part that you're uninterested in and right into the plot. 2024 was also my fantasy year because of the Fourth Wing series. I loved that book. I read Fourth Ring immediately after finishing ACOTAR, and it was so funny because I just felt like I was in the same thing but a different world. Fourth Wing gives very Hunger Games X Divergent vibes. Again, we have a main character who's female, very stubborn, very strong-willed, will speak her mind, will fight you for it. She's also really small, petite, very much underdog. There are things like magic, and there are things like dragons, and she gets put into this school, kind of university. That's where it's giving Divergent, and it's there in that school that she blossoms into this really strong, really powerful, really capable woman. I could not put the book down. I actually liked it better than ACOTAR. I immediately read Iron Flame after, which is book 2 by Rebecca Yarros. Absolutely devoured it. It was so, so good. It left me hanging by a thread, and I'm so excited because the third book literally came out last week and I'm currently reading it. So far, it is so good. Rebecca Yarros is currently on a roll. And if you're gonna read this, you should probably read it soon, because the first book, Fourth Wing, is coming out as a movie, or maybe it's a show. I don't quite remember. Last year, Dune 2 came out, and I loved the movie so much that I decided I wanted to read Dune and Dune Messiah. I knew I wouldn't be able to actually read it on my Kindle or in physical form, so I downloaded the audiobook and listened to both, and both books are dictionaries thick. There's so much to read. So I highly recommend the audiobook. I loved it so much. It made me understand the movie so much better, and again continued that fantasy train. If you already watched Dune and you're oh, I don't need to read the book, you actually would enjoy reading the book. There's so much that the movies cut out and left out, a lot of the background on characters that I feel you would actually really love if you loved the movies. All of this fantasy took me down a road, and I decided to read Butcher and Blackbird. This is a dark romance novel, and it is dark. So if you can't handle very grotesque writing with very dark humor, then you probably won't like this book. But picture this, you have two characters, both are murderers. They murder for a reason. They specifically choose to murder people that are horrible. So they're kind of ridding the world of these horrible monsters, and that's why they think it's okay to do what they do. It's very graphic, both in the smut sense and in the murdering sense. This even had me at one point needing to take a break, because I was okay, this is excessive. I wouldn't say it was my favorite book, but I did read it, so it's on the list. Tell Me Lies was such a good book. It came out as a TV show last year as well. I actually haven't seen the TV show. Everyone is saying that I should, that it was absolutely done so well and it was really phenomenal. I meant to and I just never did, but did you know that it was a book first? The book is about this girl who comes from a dysfunctional family. There's a lot of lies within the family. She goes into college, and college is where she becomes enraptured in this toxic man, and he just fully consumes her and all that she does, and everything she does in her life, every sense of purpose that she has is tied to him. And it's about her like trying to like claw away from that towards the end. It's very toxic. I will give a disclaimer. She is anorexic / bulimic. So that was a little hard to read at times. It actually was a really good story. Fully loved that book. Highly recommend. Interrupting today's book conversations with today's sponsor, Peak. Every single January, I set the most ambitious goals for myself. There's always a lot of goals and there's always at least one very health conscious goal. I try to eat better, drink more water, sleep better. But usually around mid-January, I start hitting a wall because I have zero energy to do all of the things that I have set for myself to do. But this year, everything changed because instead of having 2, 3, 4 cups of coffee or an energy drink, I started drinking Peak's Nandica. It's a slow release caffeine from probiotic teas. It has functional mushrooms and cacao, leaving me feeling focused, and it supercharges my metabolism. It includes 30% cacao butter for a better, more efficient nutrient absorption, as well as fermented teas that are triple toxin screened for purity, which we love that. Its activated metabolism helps burn fat while preserving muscle, which is the key thing because I don't want to lose the muscle that I worked so hard for to get. Plus, it's just super freaking convenient. The little packets fit perfectly in my pocket, in my bag, so I have the availability to grab clean energy at any time throughout the day. So if you're ready to transform your mornings and make this new year your year by being the most productive and energized yet, try Peak's Nandica today. Right now you can get 20% off plus a free starter kit, and all you have to do is click the link below. Start your year on a healthier, more focused note while supplies last. Now back to books. Everything We Never Said by Sloane Harlow was such an amazing book. It's about these two girls that were best friends. One of them dies, and it's about the girl that is left without the best friend and her navigating life post her best friend's death. She ends up connecting and getting very close with her best friend's boyfriend at the time, and then discovers her best friend's journal and learns about a lot of secrets and a lot of lies that were being kept between the two of them. And it's all about her like navigating through that and that grief and those emotions. It was so good. It was written so well. It was also very sad. This was my first book by Sloane Harlow, and I actually really liked it a lot. I want to read more of her books for sure. This was also a very easy read. So if you're looking for something that's like quick and easy to read like over a weekend or on a trip or on a flight or something like that, I highly recommend this one. You could read it so fast. The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. Oh my God, you guys. This book had me sitting on the edge of my seat the entire time I was reading it. This is a thriller. This is a little bit spooky, a little bit scary. I didn't find it that scary. So if you're worried about reading like spooky stuff, it's not that spooky. It just is a little, what's the word? It's just a little unsettling. That's what I'm gonna say. It's about this woman who is in need of money. She has no job. She has a history. So she's looking for a job, and she ends up finding a place where she gets to be like a live-in nanny, a live-in housekeeper kind of. She takes the job because she needs the money, and then turns out there's a lot going on in that house that she wasn't aware of, and she bears witness to all of it. And that's all I'm gonna say, because you should definitely read the book. And also, this is becoming a movie. Sydney Sweeney is in it, and so is Amanda Seyfried, I think is her name, the girl from Mean Girls, the blonde, the one that's like, it's raining. Her. I personally think they casted that so well, and I'm so excited for the movie. So if you want to read the book first, you should probably read that soon, because I think the movie's coming out soon. I love Frida McFadden so much because of reading The Housemaid that I ended up reading The Inmate as well, and that was also a really, really good book. Nowhere near as good as The Housemaid in my opinion, but I did really like it. It did have a little sense of that, like, I don't know what's going on. I'm a little anxious. This feels sketchy. It's a similar vibe. It's still a thriller, and the plot twist at the end had me in shambles. It's about this woman who had this traumatic experience and is now trying to like build a new life for herself, but she cannot escape that trauma that is literally just like steps behind her at all times. And at the end, I literally was just a mess. I was like, what is going on here? It was so good. I highly recommend it. I'm currently reading Onyx Storm, obviously, but once I'm done with Onyx Storm, I'm going to be starting this one. If you guys have read Frida McFadden and have any other recommendations that you think I should read, please comment them below, because your girl needs more. Variation by Rebecca Yarros was so good. If you're wanting just like a simple romance that is a good read, that dives right in, that keeps you sucked in the entire time, then you would love this book. This is about this guy who loves to swim and eventually becomes like a life-saving swimmer, like part of the Coast Guard, and his love for this girl who's actually a ballerina. This sounds This sounds like a Hallmark movie, and it kind of is, but like in the best way. This was done so well. It reads so easily. There's lying, there's scheming, there's family drama, there's a lot of twists and turns. I hope that they make this a movie because I would love to watch it. Also, Hudson is just like my dream character, like the perfect man in a character form. Like, oh, I just love him. Say You Swear by Megan Brandy is such a phenomenal book. It's all about romance. It's all about this girl. It's all about finding love. It's all about college. It's all about football. It's all about sports and college. It's about going to college and hanging out with a bunch of guys that love sports. This girl is so fun and so cool and so relatable. It's about her having like a love, like a past love that she thought was perfect, that shattering, that image of perfection shattering, and her discovering what true love looks like. And oh my God, it is such a good read. It also takes place in like summer going into like your first semester of college. So if I were you, I would read that around the same time because it's such a good read for that. It's also so devastating. I wept, like ugly cried. Again, it's such an easy read. I read it so fast. So highly recommend that book as well. This was one of the saddest stories I have ever read. It was actually very difficult to get through. There is a lot of abuse, verbal and physical, within this one family, and they're hiding in plain sight, and it is earth-shattering and completely heartbreaking. So I would give that as a little bit of a disclaimer. If you struggle with that or if that triggers you in any way, maybe don't read this. It's devastating. I was a little depressed while reading this. It's really difficult to get through, but it is a beautiful story, and it is unfortunately the truth to so many people out there. So I highly recommend that you read this when you're in a good mental health state. That's what I'm gonna say. It's based on a true story, and again, has to do with sisters and the unbreakable bond of sisterhood, and it's just, it's so good. If I had to pick one book that took the top shelf place of all of my reads last year, it would be The Nightingale. This book I think about quite often, probably because it has to do with sisters, but I legitimately think about the ending pretty constant, at least once a week. It is so heartbreaking and sad and beautiful and all of those things. It really puts you into the time and place of the period that this is written in. It's a historical fiction, so it's based during World War II in France, but please don't freak out by the fact that I said historical. This will fully encompass you, body, heart, mind, soul. I read it so quickly, which says a lot because she's thick. It has to do with very strong women and the power of love and family and womanhood, and oh my God, it is just so good. I cannot recommend this enough, especially if you have sisters. This one will hit different. And those are all of my top reads that I read last year. Wow, we did it. Something that I'm shocked that it wasn't on any of my lists was any Colleen Hoover books. I feel like I read all of my Colleen Hoover books in like 21, 22, 23. So I feel like last year was the year of me taking a Colleen Hoover break. But please understand, I will be diving in again this year to the Colleen Hoover realm. There are still so many books of hers that I have not read, and I will be reading. As a lot of you guys know, I committed to reading a lot more books this year. If you want more book content, comment the little like stack of books emoji, and I will be happy to oblige. Okay, love you guys, bye.